Welcome to 30 Millionaire Stories. Have you ever faced a choice, a moment, where you knew you didn't belong but didn't dare speak up? Today's story begins with a waitress tearing apart a fancy menu in the middle of a glamorous San Francisco restaurant. It ends with a boy, who never found his voice, finally declaring, "This is what I want." If you believe that sometimes someone has to break the rules to forge a new path, like in this story, subscribe to 30 Millionaire Stories and stay with us until the very end, because sometimes a bold act is the start of a voice being heard. In the refined elegance of Etoile Restaurant, nestled in the heart of San Francisco, every detail radiates perfection. The menu, printed on thick, glossy ivory paper, bears tiny letters like a haughty whisper. The light from crystal chandeliers casts a soft golden glow, draping the space in a warm, luxurious sheen. A violin glides gently through the air, but even the music feels costly, as if each note carries a price tag. Everything here is meticulously arranged, from the way porcelain plates rest neatly on white silk linens to the manager's icy gaze, watching from afar with absolute control. Henry Brooks sits at a table near the large window, where city lights flicker, reflecting off the waters of San Francisco Bay. A tech millionaire, Henry built his software empire, luminary, from nothing. But despite his dazzling success, his eyes always hold an unnamed sadness, like a void that cannot be filled. A single father. He sits beside Noah, his 8-year-old son, slight and frail, with messy brown hair and a slightly tight dress shirt, as if struggling to fit into an adult world. Noah clutches the menu with small hands, his fingers tapping lightly on the polished wooden table, an unconscious gesture, seeking comfort. Before him, the menu isn't just a list of dishes, but a daunting puzzle, with no solution. The tiny French words, dense and unyielding, offer no pictures or hints, only terms alien to an 8-year-old. Henry opens his own menu, scanning the lines with familiarity, then slides another toward Noah without a glance. "Pick something, Noah," he says, his voice low and steady, carrying the subtle weight of a gentle, unyielding command. Noah nods, a mechanical motion, but his eyes stay glued to the page. He scans each line, then pauses, his gaze wavering between confusion and tension. His chest rises and falls, his breathing quickens, as if choosing a dish isn't just a simple decision, but a monumental challenge far beyond his reach. From a quiet corner nearby, Clara Nguyen watches silently. At 24, Clara is one of Etoile's servers, trained to be invisible, gliding between tables like a shadow, serving without leaving a trace. She has mastered the perfect smile, the precise bow, and the art of hiding her notepad behind her back so as not to disturb the guest's gaze. But today, she cannot ignore Noah. The boy, with shoulders hunched inward as if trying to shrink from notice, draws her attention. Clara sees how Noah grips the menu's edge, his knuckles pale, as if the paper could swallow him whole. She approaches the table, her pointed shoes gliding softly on the wooden floor, a professional smile on her lips. "Would you like to hear about tonight's specials?" she asks, her voice gentle, trained to blend seamlessly into the meal's ambiance. Henry waves her off, a brief but firm gesture. "We'll order from the menu," he replies, without looking up. Noah keeps his head down, his eyes fixed on a single line of text, his gaze betraying panic, as if trapped in a maze with no escape. The space around them hums with Etoile's flawless rhythm, the soft clink of cutlery on porcelain, the murmurs of diners, and the violin's faint melody, all weave a luxurious backdrop. But at the table by the window, a small, quiet story unfolds. Noah, with the menu before him, isn't just choosing a dish. He's facing the invisible weight of a world he's not ready for. Henry, though seated beside him, seems oblivious to his son's struggle, his eyes lost somewhere beyond the window, adrift in private thoughts. And Clara, though merely a server, becomes an unwitting witness to this moment, where an 8-year-old boy strives to find his place in a world far too vast for him. Clara steps back, but her eyes stay fixed on Noah. The boy flips the menu back and forth, tilts it sideways, then turns it upside down, as if his clumsy movements could transform the alien French words into something clear. Noah's breathing quickens, his lips tremble slightly, as if whispering words he dare not to say aloud. His small fingers grip the menu's corner, crumpling the smooth ivory paper. Henry, across the table, clears his throat, the sound laced with firmness. "Noah, we don't have all night," he says, his voice low but sharp, an urging that brooks no resistance. Noah stays silent, his eyes glued to the page, his fingers digging harder into the paper's edge, causing it to wrinkle. Clara, standing not far away, senses something deeper than the boy's silence. It's not defiance or deliberate delay. It's fear, a fear she once saw in her younger brother. She recalls him standing before an alphabet chart, pretending to scan the letters to hide his confusion, dreading judgment. For Noah, the menu isn't just a list of dishes. It's a test, an invisible pressure to perform, to meet the expectations of his father, a tech millionaire who seems unaware of how his son struggles in this overwhelming world. Clara bends down, pretending to adjust a water glass on the table, but her eyes steal glances at Noah. His eyes widen, glistening with panic, like a small animal trapped, with no way out. Henry leans forward. His voice softens, but carries a cutting edge. "Noah, just say what you want." The words, though gentle, feel like a command. Noah's hand trembles. His thumb accidentally tears a small corner of the menu. Clara steps closer, her shoes gliding softly on the polished wooden floor. She smiles, her voice warm like an invitation. "Is there a dish you'd like to ask me about, sweetheart?" she asks, trying to breach the invisible wall surrounding the boy. Noah looks up, his eyes meeting hers for a fleeting moment, then dart back to the menu, then down to his lap, as if trying to escape the entire world. Clara glances at Henry, then back at Noah. She understands. This isn't just about choosing a dish. It's about language, about pressure, about a boy forced to speak, to act, when he's utterly unprepared. The space around the table sinks into heavy silence, as if the world holds its breath, waiting for something to erupt. Henry glances at his watch. His jaw tightens, a sign of waning patience. Noah still says nothing. Before him, the menu is like a book of magic, filled with mysteries he cannot unravel. The tiny, dense French words demand that he read, understand, and respond with a confidence he lacks. Across the room, a spoon clatters to the floor, its sharp chime followed by a soft apology from a diner. The sound, though small, seems to stir the air, but no one turns, except Clara. She stands there, quietly watching, and she has seen enough.
The violin still glides softly through Etoile's elegant space, but at the table by the window, a different story unfolds. Noah, with the crumpled menu in hand, isn't just facing a list of dishes. He's grappling with the pressure to become a version of himself he cannot yet reach. Henry, though seated beside him, seems blind to his son's fear, his eyes adrift, caught in private thoughts. And Clara, though just an invisible server to many, becomes a witness to this moment, a moment where an 8-year-old boy is trapped between expectation and helplessness in a world not made for him. Clara takes a deep breath. Her heart pounds in her chest. She knows Etoile's rules. Servers must not interfere, must not disrupt this space's perfection. Every action follows an invisible script, from the angle of a bow to gliding past tables like a shadow. But Noah's eyes, his fearful silence, like a wordless plea, make it impossible for her to stand still. It touches a deep part of her, where memories of her own helpless moments remain vivid. Clara reaches into her apron pocket, touches her small notepad, then pulls her hand back. She needs no notes, no preparation, no permission. She decides to act. With a decisive motion, Clara reaches for the second menu on the empty chair beside Noah. Her movement is deliberate, intentional, as if declaring something irrevocable. She holds the menu upright, looks down at the boy, and then she tears. The sound of ripping paper cuts sharply, louder than she expected, like a slash through Etoile's hushed air. The noise seems to freeze time. A nearby diner gasps, her voice a mix of surprise and irritation. A busboy carrying a wine tray halts, his eyes wavering. From the room's corner, the manager looks up from his wine list, his icy eyes widening, flashing a warning. But Clara doesn't flinch. She doesn't look at them, doesn't heed the stares converging on her. She folds the text-filled menu portion, tucks it under her arm, and places the plain, simple half-sheet of white paper before Noah. From her apron pocket, Clara pulls out a slender black ink pen, placing it gently beside the blank paper. She leans down, just close enough for her voice to reach only Noah's ears. "Draw what you feel like having today," she says, her tone soft but steady, like an empathetic invitation. "You don't need words." Noah looks up, his face frozen in stunned silence. His eyes widen, shimmering with doubt, as if she's offered a magic he doesn't dare to believe is real. His small fingers hover over the pen, hesitant, as if weighing whether he's allowed to accept this gift. But then, Noah's breathing slows, his chest steadies, and his gaze shifts from the blank paper to the pen, then back to the paper. That simple, empty sheet seems to become a door slightly ajar, an escape from the maze of pressure trapping him. The space around them hums with Etoile's rhythm, but at the table by the window, a unique moment unfolds. The violin still glides softly. The clink of cutlery on porcelain continues steadily, but all fades before Clara's bold act. She stands there, maintaining her professional smile, yet inside, she feels a certainty. She has done the right thing. Noah, with the blank paper before him, is no longer bound by unfamiliar French words. He doesn't need to speak, doesn't need to understand, doesn't need to meet anyone's expectations. The paper and pen are a promise that he can be himself, if only for this moment. The stares from other tables gradually fade. The diner's murmurs resume, and the manager, though still watching, doesn't approach. Clara straightens, still holding the torn menu half, her eyes lingering on Noah once more. The boy gazes at the paper, his fingers lightly touching the pen, as if standing before a new world where he can express himself without fear of judgment. In Etoile's controlled elegance, where everything is orchestrated, Clara has carved out a small space where Noah can breathe, can exist, even if just for a fleeting moment. Henry leaps from his chair, his voice taut, almost trembling with restraint. "What are you doing?" he demands, his sharp gaze fixed on Clara. But Clara doesn't look at him. Her eyes remain locked on Noah, gentle yet resolute, as if nothing could sway her. "You don't need to read words," she says, her voice soft but clear, a statement meant solely for the boy. "You can tell me in another way." Henry steps closer, his tall frame looming over the table. His voice lowers, but each word cuts like a blade. "This is a restaurant, not an art class," he says, his irritation unmasked. Clara doesn't budge. She leans down, her face level with Noah's, her hair lightly brushing the table's edge. "You don't need to speak loudly," she whispers, her voice so soft only the boy can hear. "Just show me." A silence stretches, fragile as a thread suspended in the air. In that moment, everything in Etoile seems to dissolve. The gleaming silver forks, the flickering candles, the faint murmurs from nearby tables, all fade, as if the world narrows to Clara, Noah, and the blank paper between them. Clara is no longer an invisible server, gliding past tables with a practiced smile. She is a bridge, a connection, a breath of comfort in a space thick with pressure and expectation. Noah, his eyes still shimmering with doubt, slowly reaches for the black pen Clara placed before him. His small fingers tremble, hovering over the paper, as if standing before a threshold he's never dared to cross. Then, slowly, the pen's tip touches the paper. A soft, slightly wobbly curve appears. Then another, shaky but distinct, nestled within the first. Clara watches, her eyes tracing Noah's every move. His strokes grow steadier, as if he's finding a language he can speak fluently. A large circle takes shape, filling most of the paper, with wavy lines inside, evoking a pancake topped with swirls of soft cream. Beside the circle, Noah draws a tall glass, with spiraling swirls rising from its surface, like a frothy milkshake, gleaming under the restaurant's lights. He glances at Clara, his eyes flickering with hesitation, then continues drawing. His tongue peeks out from the corner of his mouth, a sign of absolute focus. The pen strokes now flow smoothly, as if the blank paper has become a safe space, where he can express himself without fear of judgment. Henry stands frozen, his feet rooted to the glossy wooden floor, his eyes, once blazing with anger, shift to surprise, then to something more complex. He watches his son, the boy who moments ago shrank before a menu full of words, now engaging with a blank sheet of paper with a confidence Henry rarely sees. Noah's drawings aren't just lines. They're an answer, a declaration that he can speak, can choose, in his own way. Clara, still leaning close to Noah, gives a slight nod, a small but encouraging gesture. She doesn't look at Henry, doesn't need to. All that matters is the boy before her, and the moment she's helped him find. The restaurant's rhythm gradually resumes. The violin glides softly, the clink of cutlery on porcelain echoes steadily, and hushed conversations pick up again. But at the table by the window, something has shifted. Noah, with the pen in hand, is no longer the trembling boy before the menu.
The blank paper now bears his mark, simple yet meaningful strokes. Clara straightens, still holding the torn menu half under her arm, her eyes lingering on Noah once more. She sees him smile, a small, almost imperceptible smile. But to her, it's enough. In Etoile's controlled elegance, where everything is orchestrated, Clara has carved out a tiny space where Noah can be himself, if only for a moment. Clara stands still, letting the moment ripple outward. She waits, patient, until Noah sets the pen down, its tip leaving a small ink smudge on the white paper. The boy looks up at her, his eyes no longer shimmering with panic. Instead, a quiet pride glints, as if he's overcome a challenge he didn't expect to conquer. Clara leans down, pointing to Noah's simple yet meaningful drawing. "This?" she asks softly, her voice gentle like a confirmation. "This is what you want today." Noah nods, a small but firm nod, as if he's found a confidence he didn't know he had. Clara smiles, a warm, genuine smile, then deftly tucks the folded half of the torn menu behind her back, as if it's a secret shared only with Noah. "Then I'll bring it to you," she says, her voice soft but resolute. She straightens, pivots, and strides toward the kitchen, leaving behind a boy no longer shrinking in fear. Noah sits there, his shoulders relaxed, his eyes sparking with a hint of hope. Henry, who has stood motionless since Clara tore the menu, slowly sinks back into his seat. His gaze locks on Noah, but it's no longer tense or angry. It's the look of a father, as if truly seeing his son for the first time, unfiltered by expectations or pressure. In that moment, Noah is no longer the trembling boy before a word-filled menu. He's a child who's found a way to voice his desires, in his own way. In the kitchen, Clara approaches the chef, a middle-aged man with sharp eyes and a stern demeanor. She briefly describes Noah's drawing, a pancake topped with soft swirls of cream, beside a chocolate milkshake with frothy spirals rising. The chef raises an eyebrow, surprise mixed with skepticism. At Etoile, the menu is an unwritten law, a boundary no one crosses. But Clara doesn't waver. She meets his gaze, her voice calm but unwavering. The chef, though reluctant, nods. Tonight, in Etoile's elegant space, Clara has broken the rules, not out of defiance, but because an 8-year-old boy needed to be heard. As Clara returns, carrying a fragrant plate of pancakes and a chilled chocolate milkshake, Noah looks up, his eyes sparkling like twin stars. Clara sets the food before him, giving a subtle wink, a small but meaningful gesture, like a promise kept. Noah grips the fork, his movements slow but steady, as if grasping not just the meal but the confidence he's just discovered. He cuts a piece of pancake, soft swirls of cream spilling out, and brings it to his mouth. Henry watches, silent, without urging or critique. His gaze softens, as if an invisible wall, built from expectations and distance, has crumbled within him. He looks at Noah, not as a boy who must meet standards, but as a child, his son, with simple, honest desires. Clara steps back, resuming her role as an invisible server, gliding past tables with a practiced smile. But inside, a warmth spreads through her. She senses the shift, however slight. In the air at the window-side table, an invisible thread, warm and mysterious, has formed between her, Noah, and Henry. It's unspoken, undefined, but it exists. Like a moment all three will carry,
if only in memory. Noah eats his pancake bite by bite, the chocolate milkshake slowly emptying, and for the first time that evening, he smiles, a small but radiant smile. Clara, from a distance, catches that smile, and she knows, if only for a moment, she's done the right thing. Étoile's space hums with its perfect rhythm, the violin's faint melody, the chandelier's warm golden glow, and the soft murmur of conversations. But at the table by the window, a small story has concluded, leaving an indelible mark. Clara, Noah, and Henry, though only briefly intertwined, have created something simple yet profound. In the heart of a luxurious restaurant where everything is controlled, the dinner at Étoile unfolds in a rare stillness, as if the luxurious space has paused its usual rhythm to make room for this moment. Noah eats each bite of pancake slowly, his small fork moving carefully, and with every sip of the chocolate milkshake, a tiny smile blooms on his lips. The milkshake, with its frothy swirls rising, seems to bring him simple joy, like a reward for the courage he's just shown. Henry, seated across, doesn't urge or glance at his watch as usual. He watches his son, his eyes flickering with surprise, as if seeing Noah through a new lens. Mixed within is a hint of regret, as if he realizes such moments of connection have been overlooked, obscured by invisible expectations. Noah, with his messy brown hair and slightly tight shirt, looks at ease, like a true 8-year-old, no longer burdened by a menu full of unfamiliar words. As the meal ends, Henry signals Clara to approach. She glides forward, her shoes soft on the polished wooden floor, her professional smile intact, but her eyes carrying a warm, genuine spark. "You did something unusual," Henry says, his voice low, no longer edged with tension. His words are an acknowledgement, a way to express gratitude he hasn't yet found the right words for. Clara smiles, a gentle but confident smile. "He just needed another way to speak," she replies, her voice soft, as if stating a simple truth they both understand. Henry nods, his gaze lingering on her face, as if weighing something deeper. He pulls a business card from his wallet, handing it to Clara. "If you ever want a change of work, call me," he says, his voice even but sincere. Clara takes the card, her heart quickening as she sees Luminary software embossed boldly, with Henry Brooks' name in gleaming gold. She slips it into her apron pocket, making no promises, but her eyes meet Henry's. In that moment, a spark flashes, not just gratitude, but a beginning. A door slightly ajar to an unshaped future. 2 weeks later, Clara stands in her new office at Luminary Software's headquarters, serving as a customer experience consultant, a role Henry created just for her. From the large window, San Francisco's lights twinkle, like a sky of stars stretching beneath her. Her phone buzzes. A message from Henry lights up the screen. "Noah wants to invite you for pancakes this weekend. Are you free?" Clara smiles, her fingers gliding over the screen to reply. "I'll bring the milkshake," she writes, a warmth spreading through her, as if she's continuing a story still being written. That night, in a cozy little diner, far from Étoile's grandeur, Noah races to hug Clara the moment she steps inside. "You're my superhero!" he exclaims, his voice clear and bright, his eyes shining like the city's lights. Clara laughs, bending down to return his embrace, feeling the sincerity in his small arms. She looks up, catching Henry's gaze. He smiles, a rare smile, not the controlled one of a tech millionaire, but the genuine warmth of a father. a man opening his heart. Henry steps forward, gently taking Clara's hand, the gesture carrying a meaning deeper than a greeting. His eyes say it all, a silent promise, not just of a future tied to Luminary, but of a bond that touches their hearts. The meal at the diner unfolds with laughter and simple stories. Noah chatters about school, about new drawings he wants to try, while Clara and Henry listen, occasionally sharing meaningful glances. Pancakes and milkshakes, humble dishes, become symbols of a new connection, an invisible but unbreakable thread between three once strangers. As they leave the diner, San Francisco's streetlights cast a gentle glow over them. Noah holds Clara's hand. Henry walks beside them, his shoulders relaxed, as if an unseen burden has lifted. Clara feels a shift, not just in her new job or role, but in her very heart. A new beginning has sparked, not only for her, but for all three, a boy of 8, a millionaire father, and a waitress who dared break the rules to create a moment that changed everything. Leave a comment. If you loved this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to 30 Millionaire Stories for more heartfelt millionaire tales. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.